Shalom, I'm going to make this super quick. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Al Shai by Shem Kakwadash. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of your elect out there. And I'm going to entitle this video, The Original Romans Were Etruscan, or the Etruscans. So I'm going to let this play. I did a video last night. There was a video that I was analyzing, psychoanalyzing of Bishop Nate and Ron Dalton coming on and talking about the people of Ashkenaz and Japhet and so forth, because Ron Dalton teaches and believes, this is old school Hebrew Israelism, that so-called white people, it's descended from the sons of Japhet, which that's what they used to teach. They still do. We found out through the spirit of our teachers before us that the so-called white people descended from Esau. And when I heard that, I said it made all the sense in the world. So and I did another video, and I'm going through it as well. So the argument goes back and forth between Ron Dalton and Bishop Nate. And he's like, wait a minute, if they're all, Japhetic, and they would have to be white, and how can Esau be white? Because if he believes that so-called white people descended from Japhet, then the Edomites are not so-called white people, are not Edomites, because they're Hebrews. So he really doesn't know. He's just confused. He's got a lot of information, old school Hebrew Israelite stuff, but he doesn't really know. And the move that Bishop Nate made was going back, trying to go back and forth with him and showing him in the scriptures. He doesn't look at the scriptures the way you look at the scriptures. He did a video. If you go to, I used to go to his main page this is when the whole what's this guy, Kyrie Irving thing was going on, because it was over that video that he made that Kyrie rented on Amazon, and the small hats got to him because he saw the movie and he said it was a good movie. They all, I mean, don't you have an opinion as to whether you think it's a good movie or bad movie? And the reason why they did that, because, well, the name of that movie, which I believe was a book first, it's called Hebrew the Negroes. So he was deemed, Kyrie Irving was deemed as, he was ambushed, what do you call it, the media ambushed, or journalistic ambush, whatever you want to call it, whatever the proper name that they give it. So he caught him off surprise. He saw a movie, and he said it's a good movie. Well, wait a minute. He was deemed as being anti-Sem, but Amazon didn't have to take that down. Did they go after the Bezos and call him a small anti-Sem? They had this big head nigga, Shaq, that owns a movie theater in Newark, New Jersey, and he premiered that movie. They didn't call him an anti-Sem, but they called this guy anti-Sem simply because he said, "Oh, it was a good movie," which shows you that they're scared. They when you got a lie going, you gotta be on top of that lie, because you don't want other people to see that movie. So they had to make this guy, they made a spectacle out of him, and they put him, and then they would go to games and stuff, and and then it was a big mess with the IUIC, which the IUIC marched, talking about we marching for Kyrie. Kyrie didn't want your black asses down there, and when they asked him what is that group out there in purple, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about, because he didn't plan it. So he's good. What's the term? They put him back in his place. He knows not to, especially with the small hat. You're gonna get on anybody, don't get on them, because they have to maintain that lie. So anyway, here you got this guy, Ron Dalton, which he's completely lost. I mean, he knows he's an Israelite. That's it. But other than that, he doesn't know the scriptures. He doesn't know any breakdowns. I would have got right into the. You know what you do with a Christian that goes into the Bible? Go into the prophetic parts of the Bible. See how much they know. They don't. Vocab, you don't know any of the breakdowns. If I went into any prophetic scripture, maybe Revelation 11 or Daniel 7, you wouldn't know how to break it down. Some of you know how to break parts of it down. But anyway, I'm going to get ready to land this plane. So I'm going to let this play a little bit. I should let it play you should watch it from the beginning because I got into it.
From hand to hand, it's not the region that determines the people, because the peoples of those regions were conquered to those places.
Right, they were exiled to other places like we were. We're not in our homeland. That's why people say, well, how you be the Israelite? Them people over there, them white people, they Israelites because they over there in the land. Yeah, when did they come over there? They came there before 48. Who was there? The Palestinians were there, and in 48 they declared it their own. So they had to go to a land with people and push, and that's what they're doing. Esau pushes people out, and then when they push them people out, they can say that they're the people of that land, or they can make up a new name. The inward thought is out their houses, so continue forever, and they call their lands after their own name. So one land that they took over, and they'll rename it to fit them, or keep that name and say that they're them people. That's what you don't understand what migration means. Moab didn't just stay in the land of Moab, dumbass. Ammon just didn't stay in the land of Ammon, dumbass. Edomites. Well, we can find out. All we got to do is go to the land of Edom. Nothing but Edomites. First person you see is an Edomite. No, the Edomites migrated just like the Israelites, and some people were exiled to other lands. You got to have a spiritual eyes to see this, and none of these people. This is why we don't need to deal with nobody. The Christians need us. We don't need them. The scholars need us. We don't need them. We don't need them. Only thing we need to do is wake up the potential elect or the hopeful elect. That's it. Not go on talk shows, and because that ain't going to come of nothing. So let me let it play. Please forgive me.
That's why it says some remove landmarks, and that's what happened.
That's what the term stranger in the Old Testament is all about. The Lord is stranger. See, that's talking about the other thing. No, you dummy. No, you boxhead fool. You had Israelites moving out of their inherited land, and then they would come like the Israelites at Alexandria. They would go back and forth 3 times out of a year to Jerusalem. Then they would go back to Alexandria. And others went. That's what the day of Pentecost is all about. Those are Israelites from outside of the land coming for the Passover and the tabernacle and so forth. You got the tabernacle, you got the Passover, you got the unleavened bread.
So just because a particular people is in a particular area, that doesn't make them those people. When you come to America, inhabitants of America were Gad, Reuben, Issachar, right? Now the so-called white man took over. When you think about America, you're thinking about white people ruling.
Yep.
Thinking about...
No, you got to call white people original people. They're the original natives. They were here before anybody. That's a damn lie.
Gad, unless you're thinking about them being conquered. You see? So surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a
potter's clay.
Out there that you have some Edomite people out there, or Edomite looking people out there that are on a way deeper level than some of you Israelites out there. That's why it says the children of this world are wise. Bring it out.
Wise in their generation and the children.
And that's a goddamn shame. That you had the region, the land over there, and Gomer and people. Bro, the people of that land are not there anymore.
They either migrated, was exiled, pushed out, exiled to another land. Esau started down north of the wilderness between the two gulfs, where the Red Sea is at. They're not there no more. They moved up. That's where the Romans are descendants of the Edomites. You have scholars that even say that. Historians. So-called Jewish historians.
You're going to act like everybody just stayed where they were supposed to stay, and nobody got conquered. Nobody got moved out of those places. All the people of the earth, whatever the Lord said back then, all the people of the earth are still there.
Well, that's a very simple to understand. You know, just look at our situation as so-called black and Hispanics. We are not in our original land.
Yep.
There's been many nations have taken over nations and
You got a lot. How many hundreds and thousands, or even couple million Jamaicans is up here in the States, and why are they up here? For better life. A lot of times the husbands go up there and they work construction or whatever, and then they'll send money back to because the U.S. dollar goes far in Jamaica. I'm just giving you an example. All right. So stop being stupid.
displaced nations.
Yeah.
Well, look at the Northern Kingdom. They got displaced, right? And you got transplants that got put in that land, and the transplants that were put in that land, they start calling themselves Jews. Woo.
Yep, like the woman. Good point. Very. We understand that. I wouldn't even think about that. The woman at the well. You got certain Israelite groups that teach that, oh, she's an Israelite, and she wasn't an Israelite. She was one of them people that go back to 2 Kings chapter 17. All right? They had to keep the laws because the Most High sent lions among them. So they had to get one priest, and he didn't leave, he left the seed with 7 women. No, he didn't. There's no record. He went over there. First of all, he can't just sleep. For you dummies out there, a priest cannot sleep with women unless they're virgins, and he would have to marry that woman. So shut the fuck up, nigga.
So
This is why we don't deal with you. Call the cops on a Christian. Call the cops on a chemic person. Call the cops if they're out of order. If they come up and they shut the fuck up and they listen and they zip it, then they can stick around till we get tired of looking at them. But we don't need none of you. We don't need the Kemetic community. We don't need Christianity. We don't need Ronnie Dalton. We don't need any of y'all. Our job is to just teach the elect to create, so the elect can become teachers and teach others. And we're not going to reach everybody on the earth like Bishop Nate is trying to do. The Lord ain't dealing with Bishop Nate right now. You're still in the part. Nate, this is for you. Message. You're still under that dream. You're under the part of the dream that the oil's taken away. You do not have the oil. Now you better hope like hell this last part of the dream come to pass and you get your oil back. Then you'll be good. Then Jesus will love you. Inside joke.
You gotta use that same logic when it comes to all the other nations.
These guys don't use logic.
All right, the nations that are in these lands, the majority of them are not in their original lands, being called their original names in the scriptures.
Oh, wow, that's a new concept.
That's it.
All right, let me bring this out.
And then what you got there?
Luke 16.
Okay, once you get that, then go to St. John 4:22.
Okay. This is Luke.
Anyway, I'm going to cut to the chase. Let me show you something. Who was in Rome and covered that area of Rome, Italy, parts of Italy, before the white man? It was the Etruscans, all right? Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, it said the Etruscans were a civilization that thrives in central Italy. Well, I thought it was white people in there. Nope. They were dark people, particularly in the region of Etruria, present-day Tuscany. Tuscany comes from Etruscany. Between the 8th and 3rd century BCE. The white man was nowhere around there in the 8th century. And even the 3rd century, Esau came into power like around, I can go to it, but I think it was like 100 some odd years BC. So where was where were the so-called white people? The third century BCE, which is before the Common Era. Where are the so-called white people before when it says centuries, it's talking about 800 years. 800 years before, what's his name? Julius Caesar. They weren't there. They wasn't running shit. That's why they set up the first so-called king or Caesar or emperor was Julius. That was around, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was 65 BC or 45 BC. So they just came into power to fulfill what? To fulfill prophecy. So we're talking about almost 1,000 years, 800 centuries. They were the first major civilization in the Italian peninsula, predating the Romans, white people, and significantly influencing them, the Europeans, in terms of culture, the togas, the rosemary leaves, the Senate, the system of government. They got this from the Etruscans are sons of Japhet. All right, they would have to be, because remember that was the only clan that was scattered throughout the Isles of the Gentiles. Not, the Japhites were. So these places that you call Europe, the original people were sons of Japhet. Technology and what? Political organization, meaning the Roman Senate was based upon the Senate of the Etruscans. I don't got to read no more. You know what I'm going to do? Let me go to images. Okay, let me get some good one, all right? Okay, let me get this right here. They're not white people. They look just like the Samoans and so forth. Now, anytime, let me do this. Let me open this up. Okay, you can see they have woolly to curly hair, and you can see that they're brown skin. Like The Rock. What's his name? Dwayne Johnson. His mother is, I believe she's Samoan, if I'm not mistaken, but the father is so-called African American. I've seen pictures of his mother, very beautiful woman that had the same complexion as her son, The Rock. Now this guy he looked like The Rock. And they were known, they were built, they were strong people, a warrior class people. But they were pushed out. Here we go. They were pushed out because the prophecy had to be fulfilled. Look at that. It doesn't look like a white man. He can be a Dominican, a Puerto Rican, a Jake from down south that got some Indian in his family. When you go down south, you're gonna run into a lot of Jakes that kind of look like Ephraim. I know, I've been down there. They got the long hair because a lot of them got Gad in them, man. And mixed with Elam, the white man. I'm sorry. Now, when they show a son of Japhet with a woman, the woman looked white because they used to put makeup on and make them look white. That was part of their culture. Here we go. This is where these are the sons. The people that originally inhabit Italy were the sons of Japhet. Like Germany, it was a son, I think it's a grandson of Japhet, which grandson or whatever, great grandson, which is Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is just named after one of the sons or sons of Japhet. And so but the place is supposed to be Germany. Germany was really originally called Ashkenaz. That's why you got certain so-called that say we're Ashkenaz Jews, meaning we're German Jews. See, so you don't even know what the fuck is going on, my nigga. You don't even know what's up. Look at that. Look at the hair. That's not white stringy hair. Look at the color, brown. So what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom on to the next.